Morning, everybody. If you've not heard that already, it's great to have you join us today. We're joined by Al. Al is a volunteer, aren't you, with
Yeah,
Samaritans?
yeah.
Yeah. So, but has taken on a little bit more than just a volunteering role within the
Yeah,
organisation.
I'll touch on that
So
in a second.
you can explain that, but
Yeah.
just to give you a little bit of background, everybody else, a colleague of mine, Hassan, organised a community connections meeting, as was said earlier, back in the summer, and Al gave a presentation there about what Samaritans do and perhaps about what they don't do. And it was really informative, found it really useful, and wanted to kind of share that and spread that just a little bit more, so that we, as many of us as possible, become aware and maybe even consider ourselves for volunteering or what it means for what they're doing. Anyway, without further ado, Al, you can introduce yourself and
Okay. Let
yeah,
me hopefully share my screen then. This is where it all goes wrong. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try and make it bigger. Is that okay?
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, morning everybody. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak to you. Mark's teed this up quite nicely. So I think the presentation that we did to the community leaders, hopefully they took something from it. Well, they did take something from it, and we've had some follow-ups as a result of it. And one of those was to speak to you guys as well. I don't know what you all do within your roles, but I think for the Swindon branch of the Samaritans, we very much now want to start engaging in a different way and at a higher level with the community, to support maybe some of the people that you're supporting in your own roles, should they need that emotional help. So within my role, again, Mark alluded to it, I am a volunteer listener. That's what I joined as about 4 years ago. My paid job is working for Green King Brewery, so something a little bit different. And I was asked to head up what we're now calling community engagement at the branch earlier this year. And so we have historically always attended things like Pride and one or two other events, but we are trying to spread our wings a little bit and, as I get much closer to the community through whatever means we can, really. So hopefully you'll take something from the next 15, 20 minutes. And I think, as Mark said, we can then touch on some questions if you have any at the end of it. And again, as Mark's touched on, whilst I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do, it would be very remiss of me not to suggest that perhaps some of you might want to inquire a little bit about how you can get involved. So, that's good, isn't it? Okay. So I'll just run you through who we are. I'm sure everybody's got their own view on Samaritans. We've been around quite a long time now. And then we'll touch on why we're here, what we do, and potentially how you can help. So who are we? We're just ordinary people, but we do some pretty extraordinary things. There's 23,000 of us around the country, in about 200 branches across the UK and Ireland. So full coverage, 24/7. Bringing it a little bit closer to home, within Swindon, we have about 100 volunteers. We have our operation running out of Curtis Street in Swindon. So we have the ops room upstairs, and downstairs we have a shop which basically pays for us to be there. It's an extraordinary amount of money that we take through that shop. And there are about a dozen people who volunteer at different times to support that as well. And without a doubt, it is one of the most rewarding experiences you can ever have. You have conversations that you could possibly, you just couldn't imagine the window it gives you into a completely different world with some of the people who call us. It's you experience every emotion possible. But if you come off the phone or you end the chat knowing that that person is a little bit better than they were when they phoned, that's about as much as we can do. But at that point, it is incredibly rewarding. But as I say, we always need more help. It's a bit of a leaky bucket. So we do have people coming and going. We bring people in twice a year. So the next cohort is currently going through its training. The training is pretty intense. It's very thorough. It's as good as any training I've done in the corporate world. But yeah, we're always looking for more help. In terms of our values, it's about listening. We are called listening volunteers. So we're not here to give advice, which is the first thing that most people think we do. But actually we don't. It's offering emotional support. And the idea is that we explore the feelings that people are having to the point where perhaps they can come to their own conclusions about what they do next. So it is trying to alleviate distress and help others to reach a better understanding of their own situation, because very often they don't, and what the options are that are open to them. It's confidential unless we feel there is a safeguarding issue or that other people are at risk. Then we will take further action if we absolutely need to. But to be honest, that's very, very much dependent on the caller, because we don't know who they are and we don't know where they're calling from. So by and large, those calls are confidential. We're very completely non-judgmental. So we do get calls from people who have not done the best of things, shall we say, and who are openly admitting to what they've done. It's very hard not to react to some of that, but we don't, and we will explore the emotions that they're going through as opposed to what they have done or necessarily what may have been done to them. And again, that's a little bit different to perhaps what people think we do. And it's all about making those trying to get people to make decisions for themselves. And we do strongly believe that people have the right to find their own solution, and telling people what to do takes responsibility away from them, and actually it could be completely the wrong thing to do. So we won't give advice, and that can make for some difficult calls, because some people want us to give advice and need someone to tell them what to do, but we're not in a position to do that because we don't know the full situation, and we could be making the situation a whole lot worse. And it's about that human contact, so giving people time and attention and critically empathy, which in most cases our callers don't get from anybody else. And that's the bit where we can start to address the emotional needs and take away some of that distress and despair that they're going through. So why are we here? Well, over the last 70 years, we've answered more than 134 million calls for help, which is a staggering number, and it's not getting any easier. So every 10 seconds, we get a call for help. As I've touched on already, we've got 200 branches, 23,000 volunteers. It's a free phone number, and we are open 24/7. And we spend about 900,000 hours answering calls for help last year. Not everybody that phones us is actually in need of distress, because we're a free phone number. We do get people who use us or try to use us for other purposes, so we have to manage that as well. But I think that every 10 second stat is quite remarkable. And when I finished my initial training, you get assigned to a mentor who sits with you and listens to 2 or 3 of your shifts before you're free to go on your own. And he told me that I had to be really careful with one of the buttons on the phone, because the minute you press to say that you're free, it will ring. And I didn't really believe that, because I could see on the system that there were 200 other Samaritans around the country waiting for calls at the time. But literally, the minute you make yourself available, that phone rings, and you take your call, and you could be on it for an hour, and you log the call, and then you make yourself available again, and again, it will ring immediately. There are no gaps, which is pretty staggering. Sadly, every 90 minutes, someone in the UK or Ireland will take their own life, and we're all about trying to reduce the suicide numbers. Males are 3 times more likely to die by suicide than females. It isn't equal. So sadly, people on lowest incomes and higher risk groups have got a higher suicide risk. And it's the impact that that has. So for every suicide, it's estimated that about 135 people knew the person who died, whether that's friends, families, friends of family. You know, there are a lot of people. It's not just that individual. It's a big number of people around them who are in turn affected by it. So our vision simply is that fewer people die by suicide. Sadly, the numbers at the moment are going the wrong way. And there are the demographic is also changing. So more youngsters are attempting at least to take their own life, which is incredibly sad, driven by a whole host of things. But our vision and the work that we're doing is geared towards reducing that. And I guess trying to link ourselves with you is part and parcel of that, because if within working with the groups of people that you're alongside, we can start to reduce those numbers locally, then obviously that has a bigger impact across the UK. So what do we do? Well, we're available around the clock every single day of the year. We reach out to people in their own communities, and that's what we're trying to do more of now. We work in partnerships. So whilst I said at the beginning that we don't give advice, what we do is potentially signpost people to other organisations that can be more specific in their help. So we have a list of maybe 50 different organisations. And once we've established what the real problem is with the person that's calling and what's troubling them, we might be able to point them in the right direction. So that's called signposting, but that's all we're doing. We're not advising them on what to do. We might just suggest that they speak to AA or somebody of that nature, depending on how the call goes. And we're trying to influence others to take action for themselves. So it is about giving ownership of that back to the person that's made the call. And what happens when people contact us? So when the phone rings, it's Samaritans, can I help you? And it's all about them. It's their call. They've called us. So we'll listen and we'll try and guide them through the conversation. But ultimately, it's up to them what they want to tell us. As I said earlier, you don't necessarily want to hear all the things that you get told. And we have to be aware that we need to protect the Samaritan listeners as well. So if the call doesn't go as we would want it to, in that sense, we will end it because we won't accept abuse from callers. It's not fair on the Samaritans that are listening. But it is about listening. It's not about, as I say, getting into deep conversations about what they've done. It's about how they're feeling and what the options are to make things better. And it's giving people space to be themselves. Invariably, when someone rings, the feedback will be that they don't have anybody else to go to, that nobody listens, that nobody understands, that the services they're trying to tap into are too slow, they don't work, no one's working with them. And this gives them that opportunity just to vent. And actually, just having that opportunity very often will be enough for people. So we'll be the people at the end of the phone who just let them vent and let them tell us how it is. And that's as much as we need sometimes, or as much as the caller needs. And we won't tell you, as I said earlier, what you should do. We won't make decisions. We won't advise, because fundamentally that could be completely the wrong thing to do. And we're evolving now with new technology. So people obviously call us, and by far and away the highest number of contacts comes via the phone. We do operate an email system though, so people can contact us via that. The one that is in growth, not surprisingly, is online chat. So that's live. And I touched earlier on the demographic sort of going younger. Generally speaking, it's the younger people who now chat with us online. Or those who aren't in a safe position to be able to talk to us because they've got other people near them, and that will continue to grow. So at the moment, there is not a restriction, but we've been testing that with relatively short times in terms of when the lines are open, and that's going to be expanded. And most of the volunteers now, certainly at Swindon, are going through training to make sure that they're up to speed and are able to conduct online chats with people as well. So they're the three key areas. Pre-COVID, people were able to walk into the branch and talk to us. That's generally now stopped pretty much across the board. Again, with half an eye on the safety of our own people, which I'm sure you can appreciate. And that's pretty much it. So that was a whistle-stop tour, really. I guess in terms of how you can help, I don't know the answer to that because I don't know what you will do. But if there is an opportunity to support in any way, we can provide notices to go up in windows or on notice boards. We can come and attend meetings like this and take people through a similar set of slides. We do a lot of events. As I say, with the bigger ones would be things like Pride. We also go to Swindon railway station and we walk the platforms and talk to people there. But there's a whole heap of things. We have the Grief Opera, which is a much smaller event being held at Christchurch on the 1st of November. So there'll be 2 of us manning a stand at that. So it's a whole raft of things, and it's just about raising awareness. I mean, I think the thing that always struck me, and I lost my own daughter, my oldest daughter, some years ago, and I never felt suicidal, but I didn't. There wasn't anybody else to really talk to, so I kind of muddled through on my own. Because my assumption was that you only spoke to Samaritans if you were about to take your own life, and I wasn't going to do that. And actually, what you find when you join the Samaritans is that 90% of the people who call are not going to commit suicide. They just need someone to talk to. So, yeah, I don't know what your own assumptions were of what we do, but hopefully that helps a little bit. And if there are any questions, and if anybody's interested in knowing more about perhaps volunteering, that's me. I don't know whether this deck gets sent out to you all, but if it doesn't, then that's my email address. If you can take a quick screenshot of that, then I'm more than happy to speak to anybody that would like to have a conversation. But yeah, other than that, I think that's about me, Mark.
Thank you. I will send the slides out. They're really useful. Thank you for that, Al. It's again, it's great to hear what you're doing. If somebody, here's one question from me. You mentioned about how we might be able to help. If somebody if someone was watching this and thinking, well, do you know what? I actually do know that someone on the call is already a listener.
Okay.
But if someone was interested in getting involved themselves, what would they need to do?
So you can go online on the Samaritans website, and you can literally just apply through that. But equally, if somebody is interested and are in a sort of Swindon locale, then I can talk to me and I can take you through more of that in detail. But you can just go on the website and apply that way.
Fantastic, thank you. Because I have the privilege of meeting some people who are already given lots of their time up, but also are great listeners and might want to kind of get involved in other ways.
Yeah. Well, I'd say that even helping the shop is huge, because that's what keeps us going. So if people don't want to commit to, I mean, just quickly on that, generally speaking, the ask is that people do one shift a week, which is 3/4 hours, depending on what time of day you're doing it. And I know that's a big ask, but it's not. That's all it is. And then once you've been in for a while, you get roped into doing other stuff like I did.
Yeah, indeed. It's we were talking about Milton Jones earlier, weren't we? And he's got this great analogy. He said churches are like helicopters. You've got to be careful you don't get stuck in the rotors. So, but
did you laugh at that?
I did laugh at that, definitely. But again, it's obviously a passion of yours and something that you feel very much called to be doing.
Yeah, so. Absolutely, it is. As I said earlier, the training is phenomenal, and you suddenly find yourself using the training in your day-to-day life, whether you're talking to your teenage kids or whether you're at work. But when you get somebody who comes on the phone and tells you that they are ready to end their life, and an hour later they are feeling better than they were, it's immense in terms of how that makes you feel. And you look, you don't know what's going on. You know, you can only react to what you're hearing. And we don't know whether these are genuine or whether these are people just winding us up, for want of a better expression. You will never know because we don't know who they are or where they are. But you learn to tell whether a call is genuine or not. And yeah, you know, and particularly if it's a youngster who's cutting themselves whilst they're talking to you, and at the end of that call has realised that actually there's a better way of dealing with things. It's immense, and they haven't got anybody else to go to. They can't talk to their parents, they can't talk to family, they can't talk to school because all those people have got skin in the game. We haven't. We're just there to give them that safe environment to tell us actually how they're really feeling, and to try and work with them on potential options to make things a bit better.
Thank you. And just to pick up on something you mentioned a moment ago or alluded to, that you don't know where people are.
Yeah.
You won't be talking to people. The chances are you won't be talking to people in Swindon, will you?
No. So it's a national. There is 116123 is the number. There isn't any other number, and it literally, the call goes through to the first available Samaritan anywhere in the country. Now that's a change from, I understand, before I joined. I don't know how far back we're going, maybe 7-8 years ago, where it was the local environment. It isn't now. It's completely national, and sometimes international. So no, the chances of you speaking to somebody that you know are virtually zero.
Which again can be a comfort for both the person speaking and the person listening as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you may sadly hear things which trigger feelings of your own, depending on, because most of the Samaritans have got a backstory of their own, which is why they're there. You might find that you're dealing with a call that triggers your own emotions, but again, we're trained on how to try and manage that. But the chance of speaking to your next door neighbour are pretty much zero.
Thank you. Well, Clive has got his hand up. And I've enabled your camera and your microphone, Clive. So you should be able to speak, certainly, and you can even, if you wanted to. There we go.
You can see me as well. Hello, everybody. And first of all, thank you to Alan and all your colleagues for the amazing service that you provide, because we just can't imagine the situations that some people might find themselves in sometimes, and need that sort of support. My question is really, some of the people who come to you might be vulnerable females, or they might be men who don't want to talk to a lady. How do you handle that situation?
It's really up to the caller. It's their call. So we will get people who, if it's not obvious by your voice, will ask your name to try and establish whether you're male or female. And they may well decide, and it's happened to me numerous times, where they've said, okay, thank you very much, I want to speak to a female, and they've ended the call and will presumably phone back and hopefully get through to someone they are prepared to speak to. So it does happen.
So there isn't actually a way that you could transfer them to another colleague?
No. So there isn't. I mean, there are 2 of us on shift at any one time. But there is no way to transfer the call to, if I was on shift with one of my female colleagues, I couldn't pass it across to her.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alan.
No problem. Thank you. Has anyone else got a question? Becky, if you bear with me just half a second. you should be able to come on camera, or you certainly should be able to at least turn your microphone
Hi, yeah,
on. So
that's fine.
hello.
I lose internet if I go on camera.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan. That was absolutely brilliant. So useful. I thought I knew what the Samaritans did. I know a tiny bit. I didn't actually knew a tiny bit. So that was really useful.
Good.
You said that a lot of your work is around people talking to you about things that they have done when they've made a wrong choice, or however they choose to put it. Can
Yeah.
I ask what, I know you are absolutely not there to give advice, and I did know that bit, but can I ask what happens if somebody talks about a crime that they have allegedly committed, because nothing's proved at that point? Can I ask what happens with that, please?
Yeah, it depends really. It's very hard because we genuinely don't know where they are.
Yeah.
But if we are concerned, we can raise it with the safeguarding team or one of the support functions at Samaritans head office. But it is difficult because invariably they won't tell us. So
Sure.
it's very, and that I guess is why, you know, I have had people phone and tell me that they've done some horrific things, and they're sorry for it, and they need to understand how they can, because it's now destroying them. The guilt of what they've done is destroying them.
Mm-hmm.
And rightly or wrongly, our focus is on them and how they're feeling, more so than what actually happened. If we think there's a threat, then we can escalate the situation, and it's not such a problem these days. But if someone tells us they planted a bomb somewhere, then we will escalate it. We have had an incident in the branch where a caller was ringing to say that they were about to go and hurt someone in one of our other branches. So we were able to get that evacuated. But it is difficult because of the nature of the call. So I don't know whether that answers your question or not, Becky, but there is no straightforward answer. If someone rings us and says they've just murdered somebody, then I will escalate that, and the support teams will try and, I guess, raise that if they can somehow establish where the call may have come from. But it's very, very difficult.
Yeah. No, that does answer. Thank you very much, and thank you again for this morning.
No problem.
Another question from me, Al, sorry. But one of my colleagues and friends on the call here, Tracy, works with the travelling community.
Okay.
Are there particular groups that actually you feel that you would like to connect with more? You know, the travelling community are underserved, I think. Tracy would be able to kind of say more than I, but I don't want to put her on the spot. But underserved, I think you might be safely able to.
I mean, I think the whole point of the community engagement piece now is to try and get as close to all elements of the community as we can. And I know that comes with some challenges depending on who you speak to. I mean, when we met in the summer, one of the obvious challenges with some of the people representing the community there was the language barrier, potentially. So far as travelling community is concerned, they are just as, you know, we're just as open to them as we are anybody else. But I don't know how you would talk to them about that. And I guess that's the point of doing this call, is so that we can perhaps together work out, okay, so how do you get to those communities that may otherwise just not be aware of who we are and what we do. There are, if you looked at Samaritans as a total organisation, there are groups who are deemed to be more vulnerable, and top of that, and at the moment, the highest suicide rate is within middle-aged men. That is, more middle-aged men are taking their own lives right now than any other demographic, and so one of the challenges for us is how do you get to middle-aged men, because it's a hell of a group. I mean, it's pretty vast. So if there are smaller groups that we can talk to about that, then great. LGBTQ, which is another one, and we're trying to work with them. And I've got a meeting with those guys in the hub in Swindon in the new year. So yeah, look, we're happy to talk to anybody if we think there's value to be had out of that, and if we think that if one person from the travelling community decides to call us, and it saves their life, then that's what we're there for. So, but I don't know how we do it, and I guess that's the understanding and the skill sets we don't have yet. Is how do we get to those people? And as I said, without saying it all over again, I guess that's the primary reason for speaking to you guys.
Fantastic. I will put you in touch with Tracy, who's writing vigorously in the chat as well.
Okay.
She does some very close work with those communities around Swindon, so does some great work.
Yeah, ideal.
So it could be a good conversation starter. At the very least.
Yeah. And as we've spoken about before, we're trying to make contact with the football club, and again, that's about the middle-aged men bracket, who obviously probably are the highest populators of the county ground right now. Yeah. Although actually they should still be pretty happy with the way things are going, shouldn't they?
Yeah, indeed they should be. I was at Supermarine at the weekend a few times.
Okay.
And I think there are some signs there for Samaritans and.
Yeah, so we use Supermarine as one of our training venues. So we're just onboarded with the Mechanics Institute in town. So we're using them quite a lot, but Supermarine is another one of the venues that we've got a session up there in a couple of weeks' time where we're interviewing potential new Samaritans for the cohort in February. So we've got quite a good relationship with those guys.
Fantastic.
And I guess the other thing just to bear in mind, I don't know how far afield and the people on the call stretch, but it is Swindon and district, so it's pretty broad. We go out to Chippenham and onto the Gloucestershire borders, and so it isn't just about Swindon; it's broader than that.
Fantastic. Any other questions? You don't have to come on screen. You can type them in if you like. Let's check through the chat. Thank you for your time, Al. I've been looking forward to this. We planned it a little while ago, didn't we? And
we did, but we got there in the end.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to it. It's funny how time flies. But thank you. And as Becky said, I think we can all learn something from this. But also perhaps have a good think about how we might be able to get involved. Even I've got a number of colleagues from the council and from local schools as well. It's kind of thinking about how we might be able to spread the word to both support you, but actually support the folk that live in our town. So they
absolutely.
Can thrive.
And if we can do that together, then great. And as I say, I don't know what happens now in terms of follow-up, but if the deck goes out, you've got my Samaritans email on there. So yeah, please drop me a line, and if you want me to come and have a one-to-one or speak to any of the groups that you work with, then we're more than happy to do that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you everyone for coming along. And I will.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
By tomorrow at the very least, I will get this downloaded and we'll get everything sorted. It'll probably come out with the bulletin. But thank you. So
okay, thanks everybody.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Take care. Cheers. Bye bye.